To my fellow Caucasians, I need a favor from you. Now, some of you got the concept, but some of you don't. There was a time in white history where blacks were treated unfairly because we were not considered as humans. We were just considered as property. Those days have changed, but that mindset has not changed in some of you. Now, I don't know what you see when you see me. We as blacks are just asking that you treat us how you would like to be treated. Our community needs a lot of favors. Let's just start with this one, please. Thank you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform, skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colored enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch. So, excuse me if I have to go to the restroom a few times a day.
You know, as a black man, I am very aware that not all white people have been raised equally. I am very aware that not all Caucasians have been raised in an emotionally stable, affluent household. Some of you have faced childhood divorce by your parents breaking up, fatherlessness, molestation, drug abuse. The list goes on and on in regards to the traumatic events that you experience. What I believe is a traumatic event for any white kid is for that white kid to hear from their parents, grandparents, or any other person that look like them with the same pigmentation as them, hear negative things said about people who look like me. Let me ask you a question. What are some things that was said to you regarding us that still sticks within you today? Let's talk about that. And I'm not even on the whole systemic racism or white privilege. I just want to talk about the elephant in the room, about what did you hear when you begin to learn about people who look like me, because that's the elephant in the room in white history that we refrain from talking about. So let's sit at the table and talk.
Else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.